Hello guys, welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Sabres and if they solidified themselves as the best team in the NHL. Now the Buffalo Sabres have been one of the hottest teams in NHL as of late, getting on an 8-game winning streak in the last couple of weeks. So that begs the question, how they paved themselves into the best NHL team conversation? And while you may be thinking, this is preposterous, how can Buffalo ever be in the conversation for the best NHL team? Well, there's some definite arguments to go in their favor. Before we talk about the team itself right now, we first need to go back a little bit to really know how this team right now was assembled. Now, the Buffalo Sabres finished last place in the entire NHL last season, and it was looked at as a year that would be much better for Buffalo, and a year that they would definitely improve on with a lot of their youthful players coming through the ranks. But it really did not turn out that way, as it was pretty much another dud year for Buffalo. But this offseason was really a cheeky one, where I thought that Buffalo made quite a few amazing moves to really strengthen their team for this current run. Now, of course, the first big thing that they did was win the draft lottery, which was hugely important for what they are doing today. Of course, drafting Rasmus Dahlin, he's been great so far in his rookie season. He's definitely starting to pile on the points now in the last couple of weeks, now that Buffalo is starting to win a lot more. And, of course, drafting Rasmus Dahlin, number one, is a franchise-type change. And, of course, Rasmus Dahlin has already been seen to make big changes and to make big overall morale improvements for the team in general. And of course, as most first-round overall picks do, they come in for the first year, and so far we've seen Rasmus Dahlin play very, very well. So he's been one main reason why I think Buffalo has been so good in the past couple of weeks, because he has stepped up to be one of the best rookies among the class. The first big trade of the offseason was, of course, the Buffalo Sabres sending Ryan O'Reilly to the St. Louis Blues. Now, this deal is going to be mighty interesting looking back on it, because while Ryan O'Reilly is playing fantastic with the St. Louis Blues, these St. Louis Blues are not really playing all that well. So while that first round pick that Buffalo got back is lottery protected, that could still be a decent pick if St. Louis just squeaks into the playoffs. Of course, you got the other assets that Buffalo got in that trade: Tage Thompson, Berglund, Sapotka. Some nice depth players there, not superstars, but hey, those are nice pieces that are filling in well in this Buffalo Sabres team. And while I think Buffalo would certainly want to have Ryan O'Reilly, I think they're pretty content on where they are in the standings. Of course, Ryan O'Reilly being with the St. Louis Blues, they're not really high up in the standings. So I think Buffalo is kind of okay with that trade either way. And of course, the second big trade of the offseason was the Jeff Skinner deal, the infamous Jeff Skinner deal that is now absolutely biting Carolina in the back. I still don't understand why Carolina traded Jeff Skinner in the first place, but Buffalo is definitely reaping the rewards in that trade. It was Cliff Pugh, I think it was a second and a third, something like that. But right now, Jeff Skinner is in the conversation for the Hart Trophy, I think, and so far he's been absolutely brilliant with the Buffalo Sabres. So it might be one of the smartest moves that the Buffalo Sabres have ever made, and it's definitely contributing, and it's definitely already Jeff Skinner has been amazing with the Buffalo Sabres. And going into this season, I thought Buffalo would definitely improve, especially with the trades that they made in the offseason. I had them 1 point out of the playoff race, just barely missing the playoffs, but I thought Buffalo was going to be a pretty decent team, and right now, they're really smashing all the predictions that anybody had. Even if you predicted them to make the playoffs, they're currently top 3 in the entire NHL when it comes to standings, and they're proving pretty much everybody wrong. Right now, Buffalo's places in the standings is looking mighty good for a lot of Buffalo Sabres fans. Right now, they're at a 15-6-2 record. They're a 9-1-0 in their last 10, and they're on an 8-game winning streak. And maybe the most impressive stat of all, they are 3rd in the entire NHL when it comes to points. And yes, I will admit, it is still early, but we're in a quarter mark of the season. The time has flown by so far this season, but Buffalo has been one of the most impressive teams during this stretch. And of course, this 8-game winning streak has been really impressive to me for what they've been able to do. And of course, during this 8-game winning streak, they had multiple games where they were down, they had some adversity, but they were able to overcome that. And we saw a lot of games where they came back from deficits and ended up winning in regulation or overtime. They're a comeback team right now, and the 8-game winning streak definitely shows that. And of course, this month of November has been a month that Buffalo is really thankful for. They've been absolutely crushing opponents, and during this 8-game winning streak, it hasn't been blowout over blowout over blowout. Again, as I said before, it is comeback wins. It is coming from adversity, and Buffalo, they're playing like a team that they haven't played in over 10 years, or they're coming back, they're showing resiliency, and that's what you ultimately want to see from really a rebuilding team. But right now, they're not looking like a rebuilding team. They're looking like a contender. And one of the main reasons I think they've been so good during this stretch has been that first line. I think that first line of Jeff Skinner, Jack Eichel, and Palmaville has been the most lethal line in the past month. I don't care what anybody says about Colorado or Boston. This Buffalo first line is contending for first overall, the best line in the NHL. And I think if this continues to happen, I think they'll ultimately get that credit. Let's just look at these stats so far. Jack Eichel with 26 points, Jeff Skinner with 25 points, 17 of those are goals, and then you have Jason Palmaville, 18 points. He's been very, very clutch for this Buffalo Sabres team, and of course, coming back to Buffalo after being with the team 10 years ago, it really shows the leadership that he's had, and even, I think he's at like age 36 or something, he's still chugging along, and he's playing some of the best hockey that he's ever played. So while I'm not sure if I'd put the Buffalo Sabres first line first overall quite yet, I think it's definitely in the conversation, and you pretty much have to recognize them as at least top 5, because that's what they've been doing in the past few weeks. They've just been absolutely dominating most opponents they come across. One of the more fun things about this Buffalo Sabres team is the goaltending, and for the first time in who knows how long, the Buffalo Sabres are getting consistent, solid goaltending. And Buffalo Sabres and consistent goaltending don't usually mesh. We haven't seen that until, like, Hasek. But really, when it comes down to it, Buffalo and the goaltending side of things has been rock solid, which I don't think anybody predicted, even if you were very high on Carter Hutton. With the Buffalo Sabres goaltending, we'll start with Hutton. Him so far has gotten most of the workload when it comes to game starts. He's had 18 games played. He's had a 2.53 goals against average, 1.919 save percentage. Currently at a 2.41 goals saved above average, which is pretty solid. And on Linus Ullmark's side of things, he has 6 games played, 2.65 goals against average, with a .922 save percentage, and a 1.35 goals saved above average, which is also pretty solid. And certainly, while that goalie duo won't break any records, it's been very solid, and that's what Buffalo needs, really. They don't need MVP and Dominic Hasek back in the day. They need consistent, solid goaltending, and that's what this duo gives them right now. And while that might not last, I'm currently hoping that the goaltending for Buffalo stays consistent, and of course, fingers crossed for no injuries. But right now, it's been one of the main reasons why Buffalo's been consistently winning games in these past 8 games, and why they've been so good lately. And on that defense, while guys like Ristolainen have been pretty disappointing defensively, guys like Graviteh and Jake McCabe have really been impressing me in the past 8 games, and during this 8-game winning streak, Dahlin especially has really started to flourish and is starting to look a lot more comfortable in the NHL, which is really what Buffalo needs. And of course, at age 18, Dahlin is doing something that most defensemen don't do, and he's racking up the points now. And Jake McCabe, I think, has been pretty underrated, getting a lot of points now, and he's starting to play very solidly, which again is what Buffalo needs. And they got an okay defense, but when it comes down to it, Dahlin is a guy that really needs to put on the workload if Buffalo wants to get anywhere. And so far in this last 8-game winning streak, Dahlin has been a big reason why. And again, as I said before, when I talked about the resiliency of Buffalo, it really does show in their last 10 games, which, in their last 10 games, 5 of them have gone into overtime or a shootout. You want to guess how many of those they won? All 5 of them. Of course, in the last 10 games, they've been on an 8-game winning streak, so that kind of adds up in math there. But during that stretch, they've been absolutely clutch. That first line has been getting it done, especially in overtime, where they're getting clutch goals, and of course, coming from behind, back and forth. The first line is really what's producing for Buffalo, and they've been able to get some clutch goals, and even some of the depth has been contributing in that aspect. When it comes down to it, Buffalo, while they have had some deficits during these games and during this 8-game winning streak, they've been able to come back most of the time, and they're able to win games in overtime, which is a huge thing if they're going to want to make the playoffs. Now right now, Buffalo's currently on a 7-season playoff drought. The last time they made it was in 2010-2011. So I'm really hoping for Buffalo to continue to play and hopefully make the playoffs. It would be an amazing story from the team that was last place to making the playoffs. Kind of sounds like Colorado last year, but even then, it would be an amazing story to see that happen again with Buffalo. And of course, their fans totally deserve that. They've had misery after misery after misery, and as a Dallas Stars fan, I know that full well. And in the last 7 seasons, it's been kind of a dumpster fire, to say the least, and they definitely deserve playoffs after so much misery that they've had just in the last 10 years. And this team is super, super fun to watch and exciting to watch. So who knows what they could potentially do in the playoffs if they were able to get there. And if they face off with a divisional opponent, and who knows what they could really do. I'm really excited for Buffalo and their potential to make the playoffs, but not just make the playoffs. With how they're playing right now, they could possibly be a threat to get out of the first round and actually do something in the playoffs, which for Buffalo Sabres fans would be an absolute dream. But again, as I said before, it's so fun to watch Buffalo be this good. It's something that I've never really seen as an avid hockey fan. I started watching the NHL pretty avidly in 2014, 2015, and of course Buffalo Sabres haven't really been the best team since then, so I really don't have too much of fond memories of the Buffalo Sabres being good. So this is something that I'll cherish for a while, and of course with Buffalo Sabres, they're doing something that I, as a hockey fan, haven't really seen before. I think Buffalo is undoubtedly the hottest team in the NHL with their current 8-game winning streak. They've been straight amazing, but when it comes down to it, are they the best team in the NHL? Well, I don't know about that. In my opinion, I at least would not put them over Nashville or a Tampa Bay right now. And while Buffalo is on that 8-game winning streak, if they continue to win and continue to get consistent winning streaks, I think Buffalo can really contend for that first overall spot in the NHL and would really get there. I think Buffalo could be a surprising team for a lot of people, and if they were able to get first overall in the NHL sometime later down the line, that would be absolutely amazing for the NHL. And while I wouldn't put them over a Tampa or a Nashville right now, they're certainly in the mix, and I feel like while Buffalo wouldn't be my pick for best overall team, I feel like they're starting to get there. But man, if you would have shown me this video like 2 months ago, I would have thought you were absolutely crazy, because Buffalo being in contention to be the best team in the NHL is something that is so far out there that we would have said like 3 months ago when they were the worst team in the NHL. It really just goes to show how things can turn around, and of course how guys like Jeff Skinner can really turn around a team. But again, when it comes to Buffalo, I'm loving how they're playing right now with this 8-game winning streak. And while I don't think they're the best team in the NHL, I certainly hope they're able to get at least the #1 record at least once throughout this season. Because right now, they're absolutely killing it. And let's be honest, we all hope that this winning continues. But of course, I'm also really interested in your guys' thoughts. Comment down below what you think about the Buffalo Sabres, of course, their 8-game winning streak, and would you consider them the best NHL team? But of course, if you want another video to watch after this, you watch this video where I talk about 5 NHL players that have disappointed me so far. But that is going for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on the Buffalo Sabres and their winning streak, and if you consider them to be the best NHL team. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.